I got a question for you guys. Do you guys struggle to articulate how you feel? Do you guys sometimes get into arguments and then right after the argument you completely forgot what your point was, why the argument even started in the first place? Do you guys remember the last time that you cried? Maybe it was a lot. Maybe it was right before you clicked this video and you just couldn't stop. Or maybe you don't remember the last time that you cried. Maybe it's been a really, really long time for you. All of these things have to do with emotional maturity. The truth is that we are emotional beings. We do not intrinsically know how to handle our emotions. This isn't something we're taught. But honestly, it should be. Being emotional is an integral part of being a human being, and I think it's something that should be mainstream, and it's not. Welcome back, Healing Family. My name is Ethan Black. I'm a guy who's been through a lot of crap, and through my experience, I want to hopefully help make the world a better place. Forgive me if I sound a little sick. I'm just recovering from a cold. But I want to put out this video because out of all the topics I've done, I do genuinely feel like this one is very needed and very necessary for today. To start off, I want to talk about history, how history works. I know, sounds boring, right? But if you look, history usually swings in a pendulum. And with my parents' generation, people who grew up in the 80s, especially in a Christian household, what emotional maturity looked like was stuffing the emotions, sweeping them under a rug and making sure they had no effect on you. If you weren't affected by the hardship of life, if you weren't affected by emotions whatsoever, then that meant you were emotionally mature. A lot of time you would hear the phrases of, well, God is just too good for me to feel sad, too blessed to be stressed, right? That's awesome, but again, like I said before, we're emotional beings, and if you're just sweeping all of that under the rug, that's a dangerous place to live. Fast forward to nowadays, present day, and now we're the exact opposite of that spectrum. Now emotions equal truth. A lot of the time, our emotions will dictate even who we are. Our emotions, instead of acting like those lights that pop up on a dashboard to show us how we're doing, they now become symbols of our identity. Instead of saying things like, I feel really sad, I feel really anxious, I feel depressed, I feel angry. Instead we say, I am angry, I am sad, I am depressed, I am anxious. Instead of just being able to articulate how we feel, we incorrectly identify as those emotions. But those emotions aren't who we are. These are two very big extremes. And a lot of the time in history, you will find that the pendulum swings from one end to the other, one extreme to another. I talked about this in the previous video, finding balance, which is the answer for mental health. It's not on either side of these extremes, but it's in the middle where you find balance. Yes, emotions can be true in how they tell us how we are doing, but they are not our identity. And yes, emotions should be our identity, and it's good to have somewhat of a handle on them, making sure they don't control our every whim, our every desire, and our every choice. But at the same time, if we completely ignore them, then we just become lifeless corpses. So with these past two examples, both the past and the present that I've shown, where do you find yourself leaning most of the time? Are you someone where your emotions kind of dictate every choice you make, to the point where you just feel like you are swimming in an ocean of emotions, being overthrown by one emotion after another? Or do you not feel any emotions? Do you have a hard time connecting with any sort of resonance with the people around you? I've experienced both of these things, and neither of them are fun places to be. So this brings us to the question, what even is emotional maturity then? Emotional maturity is being able to articulate and accurately assess how you are feeling, and knowing what to do with that information. This is so key. It's not control over your emotions, but control over how you allow your emotions to affect you. So much of the time, a lot of the time in the past, emotional maturity was just the having a really good hold on it. I'm feeling anxious. No, I have to control my anxiousness. I have to bottle it up. I have to go to work. I'll deal with it later. Eventually, the anxiousness gets out of that bottle, and we end up having burnout. We end up having a full-on breakdown. We need to feel. We have to emote. It isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. And a lot of the time we think it is. Emotional maturity is controlling our emotions. But the thing is, you can't control what emotions you have, because emotions are reactions to your environment. But what you can control is how you allow them to affect you. And in that, there is flexibility, which allows you to bend with the wind and not break with it. What does a lack of emotional maturity look like? Maybe it looks like obsessing over the small things. Obsessing over maybe a text a friend sent you. Or maybe something you said to a friend. It's nothing you can control anymore. It's been done. It's already been said. And yet you find yourself freaking out over it, obsessing over it. It makes you anxious. It makes you freak out. Maybe it looks like lashing out. This is true for me. I remember if I didn't acknowledge my emotions for a while, if I had anything that set off that balance for me, I would easily lash out. And that could look like me being easily offended by someone saying something to me. Because I had such a awful perspective of how I saw myself. It was already such a fragile identity that the second someone might have critiqued anything, even if it was constructive criticism, I would immediately fall apart because I didn't know how to handle it. Because emotionally, I was immature. A lot of the time, we can get offended if someone says, "You're not emotionally mature." I don't think it's something that people necessarily come out just swinging and saying that you're not emotionally mature, but if you're anything like me, and you had a childhood where you really did not like who you were as a child, if you did everything in your power to get away from being a child because that you associated that to being weak and to being helpless. This is very common for people who dealt with sexual abuse or any abuse. But a lot of time you try to get away from that identity of being a child. And so whenever someone says immature and links you in that sentence, it messes you up. I remember a lot of people last year calling me emotionally mature, and they weren't calling me immature. I was very mature, but I did not have any sense of how to handle my emotions. Because I thought, like most people, that it's just controlling them, controlling the emotions. It's not. It's knowing how to control your response to the emotions that you feel. Because you can't control them. You can try to, but it's going to drive you insane. Another thing of what a lack of emotional maturity might look like is detachment. Emotional detachment. Now, this usually comes from when you have gone so long, you have tried so hard, and you have been hurt so many times. And so finally, you give up. Finally, no emotions at all become a safer place to be than allowing emotions to flow. At this point, emotions do truly become a luxury. Because to survive, to make it through the next day, you just have to disconnect. Maybe this is due to the environment that you live in. Maybe this is due to just the circumstances of life. And so the only way that you can find to survive is just by not acknowledging emotions at all, because it's just too messy and it's too hard. Especially when you don't have a community that shows genuine love and grace. Operating and trying to figure that out by yourself is excruciating. Now, all of these things of what a lack of emotional maturity looks like, these are all examples from my own personal experience. I'm not drawing this from any observations that I've seen with anyone else, where I'm saying, oh, look at this person, they're not emotionally mature. This is all from the Ethan book. So I hope that hopefully can shed some light, as well as also just kind of acting as a motivator to say, I've been through this, and I've made it to a place where I Thought I would never be able to emote again. I would never be able to feel genuine happiness or joy. And here I am, even in the midst of craziness. A good example is right now. In our household, there's a lot of stuff going on. My mom is currently going through a whole journey with breast cancer. That has been very hard and has taken a toll on our family. Within the same week, my grandfather died. So me, my dad, and my siblings, we packed up, went to Louisiana, went for the funeral, and then were able to come back and immediately start taking care of our mom again. And we've had an amazing community that's helped us out with that. Around the same week as the cancer surgery and the passing of my grandfather, my dad was also served papers for a lawsuit that was going on between him and a group he had a disagreement with over work stuff. They issued a lawsuit with him without any sort of notice or anything like that. A lot of it seems unfair. And in the past, I would have easily said that I was angry. I didn't understand why my mom had to go through this cancer. I didn't understand. I was sad about the passing of my granddad, but because there's so much going on, I would just deal with it. You know? That's emotional maturity. It's just dealing with your emotions, learning to just bottle them up, not letting them affect you, and just persevering, walking through. These weeks have been hard, but I'm so grateful for everything that I've gone through, because it now allows for seasons like this where it feels like walls are literally collapsing. I can go to the things that I know help me to find emotional maturity, the things that help me to find a outlet for my emotions to flow through. So even if I can't really acknowledge them in the moment, I can later on. So what does that even look like? How do we grow in emotional maturity? First things first is let go of control. Control equals pressure, and that is not pressure that you were meant to bear. We try to control our emotions, and they're not ours to control. They're meant to flow. They're meant to be indicators for us, guiding us through life, but they were not meant to be controlled by us. Stop trying to control your emotions, because it'll drive you insane. Here's what you can do, though, is ask questions. Be a curious observer. If you find yourself being sad or anxious or depressed or any of these things that we would label as bad emotions, ask why. Why am I feeling this way? If you wake up in the morning, here's a good one. If you find yourself more anxious in the morning, or maybe you find yourself more anxious in the evening, why? I promise you, there is a reason for it. Even if it doesn't feel like there is one, just throw spaghetti at a wall till you find something that kind of sticks. Why do I feel more anxious in the morning? For me, I felt more anxious in the morning. Why? Because I thought of everything I would have to do in that day. I had everything I'd have to accomplish to be worth love. Why did that matter so much? Because I didn't feel like I was worth love, so I had to earn it. Why did that matter? Because I didn't believe in something of unconditional love. I had to follow that thread and keep pulling until I found the root. My issue wasn't my anxiety in the morning. My issue was that I didn't feel like I was worth love unless I accomplished something. And the weight and the pressure of trying to control everything in that day and trying to accomplish everything in that day, that created the anxiety. That control created the pressure that created anxiety. Your problem isn't the problem. It's the root. And that root is what creates those surface level problems. Another huge thing that you can do is journal. If you don't have people that you can necessarily talk to in a moment, pull out your phone on the Notes app. Or just have an actual journal. Go to a store, buy a pen and a booklet. And once a day, write in it. A really good prompt is in the morning or in the evening. I usually do it once in the morning and evening. At the top, I'll write just 1 out of 10. How am I feeling? 10 is great. 1 is awful. How am I feeling? Next, I will write maybe a goal I have for that day, or what I accomplished that I feel good about that day. If it's the end of the day, I will usually write about what was the best part of the day and what was the worst part of the day. If it's the beginning of the day, I'll write what are the things I'm most excited about, what are the things I'm most scared about. And then at the end, I'll just allow myself to ramble, say whatever I feel like saying. A great start, a super simple start, is just saying, write what happened that day, and then write how you felt about it. Maybe you have no idea how you felt about that day. Great. Throw spaghetti at the wall. This happened. I felt good. I felt bad. This made me feel icky. This made me feel humorous. It made me feel happy. Whatever it is, this is all about kind of learning how to get in touch with those emotions that for so long we just don't have time to acknowledge, because there's more important things to do in our life. I highly encourage you, go into those places. This is all about learning how to just become more familiar with yourself. And a great way to do this is by doing this next tip, which is slowing down. Nowadays, if we don't have a moment that is filled with stimulus, it feels like our world is falling apart. So many of the times, you could be at a stoplight, you could be at a commercial break, you could be on the toilet, and we feel like we have to occupy that time with scrolling or with texting or with answering someone. I know this is a really big thing right now, and the brain rot thing is really huge right now, but honestly, it's true. So I challenge you, if you walk your dog, make your bed, make breakfast, make dinner, take a shower, any of these daily routine things, just observe, be a curious observer, and see when you're doing them, do you rush while doing them? Do you rush while making the laundry? When you go to open your phone, go into messages, and text a friend, do you type at Mach 1 like I do? Or can you actually slow down and take the time and a breath in between each type? I promise you, if you move like what feels like slow-mo, you will actually be moving at a regular speed. This sounds crazy, but it's true. When you're having a conversation, do you rush through everything that you're saying it really quickly, making sure that you don't take a breath because you want to make sure you get every single thought out and out there so they can hear it and they can acknowledge it and they can know it? Or can you take a breath in between each word, each sentence, allowing you to genuinely think through what you're saying, making sure that each of your words contain meaning, weight, and value. I don't think our brains were meant to process as fast as we're forcing them to. And our brains are incredible things. They can handle it. But at the sacrifice of being able to analyze ourselves, being able to know how we ourselves are doing. Slow down. It feels painful. But I promise you, after this video, take 5 minutes. Put your phone down, or your computer, or TV. Sit in silence. Do absolutely nothing. It's gonna rock your world. It rocked mine. It's insane. I worked myself up to a full hour now, and it's not easy. Granted, I'm kind of cheating because I also have my dog with me. So, if you have a dog, it makes it a lot easier. I digress. Next is create a collection of information just for you. So, when you observe these things, when you ask these questions, write it down. Create a collection, a list of how things impact you. If you watch a movie and it's sad, take note of that. Because if that affects you, if that makes you sad, then maybe the next day you wake up and you might feel sad. You can ask yourself, why do I feel this way? But you can trace it back to, oh, we watched a sadder movie last night, so that's probably why. For me, I just came from a funeral, not even a couple days ago. And that comes with a lot of heartache, that comes with a lot of hardship of a family who are grieving the loss of their grandpa, their father, whoever that person meant to them. Now for me personally, I have all of my normal emotions that I would feel towards that sort of thing. But I'm also an empathetic person, and all of us to an extent have mirror neurons. We're all constantly accepting different information from people that we don't even consciously know we are. So I felt really sad and anxious and even depressed for the past couple days. But I can acknowledge, I just came from a funeral. I just came from a group of people who just lost their granddad. For my father, my dad just lost his dad. And that emotion, knowing how that sits with me, it just kind of gives context to how we feel, why we feel things. So I encourage you, whether it's food and how that affects you, how you sleep, how you work out, the people you talk to, the frequency of the people that you talk to. Take note of these things, because these are important uses. These are important points of data that allow you to just learn more about you, who you are, how you function. You are unique. You are individualistic, and that is incredible. That is amazing. But if you try to approach your own life with the cookie cutter mold that everyone else uses, it can only take you so far. There are certain things that you need. For me, I know that I personally need time either in the morning or in the evening to decompress. 20 minutes of just me time that I can write out what is going on in my head and my heart. Highly encourage it, because it allows us just to get more in tune. It sounds kind of hokey pokey when you say it out loud, but it's made huge changes in my life. Finally, and this is the hardest one, ask the people around you what your biggest weaknesses are. This will show you where you're emotionally immature pretty quickly, because we, as people, we live with the way that we are our entire lives. And so for us, everything we do, we say, it's normal. It feels proper. It feels right. But sometimes it isn't. And so getting perspectives from other people and how they see us and how they observe us, it can sometimes hurt. It can sometimes suck. But it can sometimes be really helpful for just giving us a fresh perspective. I promise you, even if what the person delivers to you isn't necessarily packaged with good intent, there is merit to whatever it is they say. And I encourage you to dig into it. And if it's hard, if it's scary, invite someone to help you dig into it. Maybe that's a counselor, maybe that's a family or friend. Don't do this alone. You're not alone. I know that a lot of people don't have the type of community and the friends and the family that I have. And my heart breaks for that. But I hope that this channel can be a place that you can feel that sort of community. If you're sad, happy, angry, whatever emotion you're feeling at this current moment, write it in the comments. Don't have to say anything else. Just say sad, happy. I'll do the same after I post this. I hope you all are well. I hope anything in this video I said makes sense. Sometimes I don't know if my brain actually functions in a way that makes English work. But if you guys agree with anything I said, let me know in the comments. And if you disagree, same thing. I would love to hear what it is that I got wrong, what it is that I could do better. Let me know about your experience. I hope you guys are all well. My heart goes out to all of you. And I will see you guys in the next video. All right. Bye. Whew, it's humid out here. Oh, I'm taking a shower.